Hey, I'm Keith Vaughn. Welcome to the Keith Vaughn channel. Keith Vaughn's Flying Circus. And we're rolling from the south north on State Highway 6 in Oklahoma. We're approaching Eldorado, Oklahoma. Yeah, my notes said ghost town, but lots of inhabitants in Eldorado. We're moving along here, and now on main streets. One side, the left side of the road, and the other one, I believe, is State Highway 5, and we are moving west. And you can see lots of buildings going back to the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. Not much commerce on Main. And some empty lots, too. Eldorado had a very bad tornado a number of years ago, and all that debris is gone, but there are signs of damage. The washout, the laundromat, and there are quite a few abandoned properties up and down the streets in Eldorado. This was the morning, or actually around noontime, on September 13th, 2025. And lots of residents still in Eldorado. Not much going on, but there are lots of citizens here. And we're coming up on the first of many churches in Eldorado. I believe this one is the Baptist Church. And some great homes. You can see some of these homes built back in the 20s and construction all the way up into the 60s and 70s. There's the Church of Christ. And some abandoned properties. And then right next to them, beautifully well kept. Someone's proud of that home. You know, I can imagine this would be a very, very easy place to live. You talk about kickback and easy going. And we come up to the stop sign, and we take a right on West 5. And more of these older homes. You can just tell these date back 20s and 30s. And now we take a turn into the other neighborhoods in Eldorado. Yeah, it's an old town. This place is in Jackson County, Oklahoma. And I believe the town itself, founded around 1901, 1902. They got a newspaper around 1901, I believe, according to my notes. Yes, 1901. And the size of the streets, that's a telltale right there. These are streets made for T's in A Fords. They're not very wide at all, and some not paved. Here we are coming up on the school. And the old school playground. Love it. Now we've turned. We're heading back towards Maine. Eldorado today, you can tell, is a town where there's lots of farming and ranching. Even oil business going on here. But back in the day, there was a clothing company manufacturing clothes, also candy being made, and a boat factory. And copper mining near Eldorado. Now we're heading back the other way east and checking out the other side of the road. Some of these buildings, you can tell that, you know, what their type of business was. You know, what was a retail outlet, what was a bank, what was a theater. There's a 60s style bank building, I believe. And then back to the 20s and 30s. And even earlier, no doubt. And we make our way up to the end of the road. And I think we're gonna jump to some other GoPro footage just driving through Eldorado. Yeah, I found this old GoPro. It's quite old. And we charged it up and thought we'd give it a shot. So here you go. It's my ancient GoPro and footage in Eldorado, Oklahoma. Jackson County, Oklahoma. And back up to the stop sign. I think we're backtracking here. I think we've been down this street before. Hey, I'm not from around here. We'll turn here. Yeah, these are homes where generations have lived in these places. You know, it's great in Oklahoma and in Texas. You'll see some old, dilapidated property. And then right next to it is the new house, the updated one. They leave the old one up. They don't tear it down. We might get into disrepair and look horrific, but man, they've still got it there, and the new one right by it. Here we are rolling along the tight streets in Eldorado, Jackson County, Oklahoma. It's about 7 miles north of the Red River. That's just north of Quanah, Texas, right off 287. State Highway 6. Now we've turned left and we're gonna head back towards Maine. You know, another cool thing about Eldorado was, I think it was in the, I want to say the 50s or 60s. That may be incorrect, but they did discover mammoth fossils and mammoth bones near Eldorado. And those were saved, taken, and sit in a museum now. But yeah, Eldorado known for mammoth bones. There's an old abandoned property to the right. See, I wanted to get out and get some footage, but the new house right next to it, and they were all out on the porch. It was a beautiful day. Just a little bit of wind. Temperatures nice. September Oklahoma temperatures. Eldorado's heyday would be the early 1930s. From about 1930 to about 35, maybe up to about 38. Their peak of residents, they had about 1,183. That was the count in 1930. Now compare that to 2020. 318. Yeah, at one time, Eldorado had a thriving school and sports teams. Even an opera house in Eldorado. Yeah, you can see the signs of agriculture straight ahead. Oh, yeah, don't turn, go straight. And again, we're rolling by new houses right across the streets from old properties. And some of these old homes in Eldorado, so well maintained. It's great. There's a truck wash. Looks like not washing many trucks there right now. And again, making our way back towards Maine. And I believe right about in here, we just pull over and park, and I'll be getting out and shooting some of the old buildings here in Eldorado. The whole time we were here, which was about an hour, I would say maybe 3, maybe 5 cars came down this street and passed us. Maybe. And there's one on Highway 6 right there. There's the highway signs explaining what road is what road. And we'll go right back down into Eldorado. Again, my research listed Eldorado as a ghost town, but there's lots of people living in this ghost town. Yeah, some of these streets, they are old. And I can only imagine how tough it is to maintain, infrastructure in a town of this size with this little amount of residents. And we've made the square, and we're back on Maine. I don't believe the thermometer was correct. Didn't feel like it was that hot. Yeah, you can see that's an old building, but they've done some exterior, let's just say renovations to it. Here's some old storefronts on Maine. I've come to the conclusion in all my research that anytime you find an old building with this much wood in the front and this kind of work, that was probably all a one-time glass in a storefront. The old Chevrolet dealership. You can still see the dealer name painted in the bricks. Think how many old Chevys pulled right in there for service. And obviously at one time it was repurposed as the Eldorado City Hall. And this sign pointing right down there to that doorway, to the cafe. It's a great old building. Again, the front of these buildings have changed so much from the way they originally were, which was most likely all glass. And this building, no telling what it was originally, but in its last use, it was the laundromat in Eldorado. Hey, and don't let your kids run around in here. The old machine's still in there. And back out on Main. That's a very interesting building. To me, it resembles, very much could have been a car dealership or a retail store, but a very big one. And then there's the Panther Diner, which looks like this was probably the place to hang out after the football game on Friday night. It says drive-in. I don't know where you would be driving up to or into, but that's it, man. The Panther Drive-In in Eldorado. And then right across the street, this abandoned property. They probably always wanted a white picket fence. Well, they got it. Think this is the Odd Fellows. Another beautiful building. And I bet those were windows at one time. More storefronts. This one with the 2 AC units. Looks like it might have been a theater at one time. Not sure. They do have some big lights on the poles. And I do understand that they have a festival once a year. There have been some car shows on this road. The old Chevy dealership. What a great building. And inside one of the abandoned storefronts, everything's coming down. Eggs for sale. Hey, look, I appreciate you checking out this video. Hey, share it with a friend. We'd love to have your subscription. And please check out this other content on the Keith Vaughn channel. Thanks.